internally within business,
Yeah.
what are the implications of digital technology? Internal communications, for example.
Yeah. The gap between companies and their customers has been big, but now is getting really enormous. And I think the reason for that is because the first wave, this is all driven by technology, actually. I mean, if you didn't have increasing power in microprocessors and low cost of storage, you wouldn't have the internet, because nobody could store all this data because it would just be too expensive to store. Okay, so all this is a result of technology. The interesting thing about this phase of the technology development is that if you think about it, in the 1950s, 1960s, early computing came from companies. The very first people in the UK to have computers were banks, because computers were incredibly expensive. Today, it's exactly the opposite. It's the consumers adopt the technology way ahead of companies. The perfect example of that I saw a few years back was when the CIA realised their internal search system of their databases was considerably inferior to Google. This was going back about 5 or 6 years. So, a company where there was money, no object, in a way, was suddenly finding that consumer technology was better than them. The first computer that was used to put man on the moon, 64K of memory in it. We have more than that in the keyboard buffer. And you can go to Tesco's and buy, or Asda and buy a keyboard for £8. I just use disposable keyboards. So, and that has typically 128K, so it's twice as powerful. It's just a keyboard. That's development now is being led by consumer adoption first. Smartphones. What you're seeing at the moment, people walking around with a company BlackBerry and an iPhone. The iPhone is their personal phone. But they're having to use this because of the Outlook system and Microsoft Exchange that is used for business. And the BlackBerry's good because it's designed to just do email. But consumers have realised the phones are now small computers and they want an iPhone and all the other things it can do. That change is going to be played out over a long time because companies are moving so much slower in this space than consumers. So I see a lot of people carrying 2 phones.
You don't think
for some time.
You don't think BlackBerry's going to go the same way as Nokia?
Yeah, unquestionably. Yes. Their rim is toast, isn't it, really? That's the new Nokia.
Although a new piece of teenage slang is now to BBM someone, which is to BlackBerry message. It's become part of the
it's going to be very interesting because people get, again, going back to the cybernetic sort of feedback loop, people became, it was termed the crack breed, wasn't it? Because it was so addictive, So, maybe the legacy systems will survive because of that interchange. But another good example, in this university, we use an Outlook email system. Well, I noticed even in the last few weeks, Harvard has gone to Gmail because it's free for academic institutions. Of course, they've got all that nice data and you've been trained to use it and you're going to go off for the rest of your life.
Your profile has to be public.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, but not for academic institutions. But the minute you leave the institution, it becomes public. Yeah. So that's interesting. The digital adoption by consumers is leading. Consumers don't have legacy systems. They throw them away. Institutions that have spent lots of money and have a company supporting this or technicians supporting that whole structure, it takes a brave person to go in there and say, hey, all this is just obsolete. You guys go away and we'll just have Gmail, which is what Harvard has just done, saved half their computing costs. So,
exactly half their staff.
Yeah, the computing staff, yeah. So, the equivalent of our solutions. So, give you another example of legacy systems and internal communications. Companies like Marks and Spencer's, or for example, John Lewis. John Lewis via Waitrose gave grocery shopping to Ocado. The contract is just expiring, but along came grocery shopping, and they didn't think it would take off. And then you had companies like Webvan in America go down, and the people at Waitrose were saying, yeah, great, good job we didn't go into that. And now we're seeing that it is so important. In fact, I saw an interview with the chief executive, Andrew Street, with John Lewis, saying that 50% of, he's expecting within the next 5 years, 2015 roughly, that 50% of their entire revenue will come from online. That's both Waitrose and the store. But as a company, they've got to turn inside out, because that means you have fewer shop assistants, but you have search engine optimization specialists, because they do their own search engine optimization in-house. It has great implications for their property portfolio. Suddenly, instead of expanding in very expensive places like Westquay and Southampton, they can be they can have warehouses somewhere and do an Amazon. But that takes time for a company to respond. They're like large companies are like liners, cruise liners that the captain says change, but by the time it gets down to the guy in the engine room, it actually starts turning. They've almost hit the iceberg. That's what happened with Nokia. That's what happened with Ring. They just can't change quickly enough.